from Samford University
in Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
From Central de Cuba, Mallorca, Spain. Welcome to the GCN Show.
From the Hell of the North, welcome to the GCN Show.
Welcome to the GCN Show. This week we're taking a look at the winners and the losers from Sunday's Paris-Roubaix, and we're wrapping up all of the other racing action from the week as well.
Yeah, we award possibly the most well-deserved wattage bazooka in history. We're going to look at new shoes, power meter, the best from Roubaix in tech of the week. We're still going to squeeze in all of our regulars as well. Just unfortunately, we're not going to have time to go over our race predictions.
No.
So you just don't have time.
It's a shame now, I enjoy that part.
Yeah, I do, I love it.
Paris-Roubaix this year, as with pretty much every year in fact, lived up to all the hype and expectation. A classic battle took place over the cobbled roads of northern France, with BMC's Greg Van Avermaet emerging victorious through the dust.
Yeah, the path to glory is rarely straightforward at that race though, is it? It's always shaped by luck, both good and bad. In fact, there are many winners and losers. You only just have to look at Greg Van Avermaet. If you'd asked him with 100 kilometres still to race what his chances of winning were, I bet he'd have given you a very short and very negative response.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. Poor old Greg had got caught up in a crash before the very important sector of the Forest of Arenberg. He was forced to switch bikes and then he was chasing alone behind the group. In a game of snakes and ladders Paris-Roubaix style, Greg had landed on a big old snake.
Yeah, Paris-Roubaix Snakes and Ladders is a classic game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, one thing that Van Avermaet did benefit from was Alexander Kristoff landing on a big old snake. He punctured at a very similar time, but the pair of them together meant that although Van Avermaet had no teammates, Kristoff called a number of his Katusha teammates back to help them chase, and then Tony Martin, who also rides for Katusha obviously, got to the front of the peloton in Arenberg and slowed the whole lot down, allowing Van Avermaet and Kristoff to get back a ladder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not bad, this game of snakes and ladders Paris-Roubaix, but I think maybe we should leave it from this point onwards. All right, well, if Greg Van Avermaet had a bit of bad luck and also a bit of good luck, the big loser on the day again this week was world champion Peter Sagan. Twice he looked to be in potentially race-winning moves. Twice he punctured.
Yeah.
And it cost a lot of energy getting back on. He did eventually get back onto the chasing group, but then uncharacteristically threw in the towel, though perhaps just he was very tired from all the chasing he had to do.
Yeah. No one ran over his shades this week, did they?
Well, no, I guess he had a bit of good luck from that point of view.
Yeah. But no, two big old snakes there for Sagan, despite some strong rolling of the dice.
Yeah, I think we should leave it, so as I said.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. What about second place Zdenek Štýbar? Now, he had pretty much only good luck through that entire race. It was virtually faultless, and I think he's probably going to come to terms with the fact that he was just simply beaten in the Roubaix Velodrome by a faster finisher. That's pretty much what it came down to. However, he did have some quite bad luck on the Thursday, didn't he? He was out pre-riding the course with his teammates, and he had an embarrassing fall. First bit of bad luck. Second bit of bad luck for Štýbar was that he happened to fall off just in front of the lens of ace photographer Tim de Waal, and we have these images as a result.
Yeah, that is quite literally adding insult to injury. It's
Double bad luck.
captured in full HD by a professional photographer. Quickstep did have a bit of bad luck on Sunday, though, didn't they? They lost former winner of the race, Nicky Terpstra, to a crash, and he could have been a perfect ally to Tom Boonen later on in the race. Although, given that Boonen didn't actually appear to have any bad luck whatsoever, you do wonder whether perhaps he just didn't quite have the legs that he needed to win his last race.
Well, you say that, mate, but Boonen's boss, or former boss, I suppose you'd say, Patrick Lefevre, who's a man that rarely courts controversy, did say after the race that some men rode like such little children that they could only lose, referring to the fact that Quickstep team felt like Boonen had kind of been marked out of the race.
Yeah, and also talking about all the good and bad luck that riders have during Paris-Roubaix, I can't help but wonder whether in some ways, even at that race, you make a bit of your own luck.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back through the results of Tom Boonen at that race over the last 16 years, I think on all but one of those occasions, he has finished, well, not pulled out of the race, but in 13 out of those 16, he's finished in the top 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is quite some record, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But if we follow that route down, that's basically saying that Oliver Nason of Azure Desert just isn't very good at Paris-Roubaix, which I'm not sure is entirely accurate. The poor guy got brought down at the Tour of Flanders by Peter Sagan and a rogue jacket. And then in Paris-Roubaix, he suffered 4 flat tyres, a crash, and a broken derailleur. And he still finished 31st.
Wow.
Which is not bad, is it?
No.
For someone who's clearly not very good. No, I'd say that in jest. He is clearly amazing.
Yeah, very good indeed. We should finish this segment, I think, with a story which I'm not sure is good luck or bad luck, but it's from Andrea Guardini, who these days rides for Team UAE Emirates. He, we think, was dropped from his group, but wanted some extra training regardless and some more kilometres in his legs. But he found himself a bit lost. Ended up on the autoroute, which is the French highway. Take a look at this next video.
That's pretty terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah.
However, bit of good luck for Guardini. He then got stopped by police, but they gave him a lift to Roubaix. Isn't that nice?
He was probably slightly disappointed. I expect he was on for a PB over 10 miles on that road.
Niche joke for British time trialists there.
We haven't got time for the predictions, have we? I don't think.
Nah.
I think we can sneak it in, guys.
Peter Sagan.
Tom Boonen. Unfortunately, this week, neither of our top tips did manage to win. And apologies if you also backed either Peter Sagan or Tom Boonen.
Yeah.
However, I'm pretty chuffed with old Gianni Moscon. He was my outside tip, and he finished 5th.
Yeah.
For a 22-year-old, that's insane. That's like Boonen level of ability, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a cracking ride, I must admit.
Wasn't it just? And a cracking prediction.
I am excelling myself, even by my own standards of my predictions so far in 2017. I managed to slip in 2 outsiders, you might remember, at the Paris-Roubaix preview show. But the backer finished 32nd, and his teammate Mike Cherson finished 49th.
Yeah. You know what though, Dan? I think a lot of people think that our GCN predictions are the kiss of death. Actually, I think the kiss of death this week probably is a result of a text message that I sent you in the finale of the race when I said, hey mate, our predictions are looking great, when we had 4 in the lead group of 10.
Yep.
And then it all went downhill from there. So apologies everyone.
Thank you, Gianni.
Yeah. Talented lad.
It's now time for cycling shorts.
Unfortunately, the cycling world lost another great last week. Steve Tilford was involved in a fatal car accident whilst on his way home to Colorado. He was a 4-time US Cyclocross national champion. He was the first ever US National Mountain Bike Champion. He was a 5-time Masters World Champion. And he was also part of that incredibly talented generation of American road pros in the 80s. But even more than that, he was a cycling stalwart. He'd competed since the age of 14 and never stopped, always racing with the same level of enthusiasm that he had when he started, and across all disciplines. So his loss has come as a huge shock, and we send out our condolences to his friends and family.
Yeah, we certainly do. It's been a really tough couple of weeks in the world of cycling, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Right, well, away from the crashes and bad luck of Paris-Roubaix, there have also been an enormous number of crashes in the other races over the last week or so. So if we look at the Schelder Praise, which is a semi-classic for sprinters up in Belgium, last Wednesday, Mark Renshaw of Dimension Data was involved in a crash and fractured a bone in his ankle, so that requires surgery. At the Tour of the Basque Country, 3 riders had race-ending crashes. Sammy Sanchez, also Steve Cummings and Darwin Atapuma. And also, if we look at Paris-Roubaix, 2 riders from Cannondale-Drapac couldn't start. Taylor Phinney had received concussion from his crash at the Tour of Flanders the previous week, and Sepp van Mark had broken his pinky finger, so he also couldn't start. So get well soon to all of you. Oh, and one rider that wasn't even racing, Fabio Aru, he had a crash in training after a puncture and has a very swollen knee, which is preventing him from training. So that's not ideal on his build-up to the Giro d'Italia.
No. Now, fortunately, it hasn't all been bad news in the world of cycling this week. There is one undoubtedly amazing bit of news, in fact, and that is that we would like to wish Matt Stevens and his new wife Holly congratulations. They tied the knot at the weekend. Fantastic day, fantastic ceremony, and we wish them all the best for the future.
Yeah. Amazingly, he got his vows right first time, didn't he? Didn't stumble at all.
No, actually brought that kind of professionalism to his work life. But anyway, never mind.
Well, I'm wondering, it's very positive news for Matt and Holly, of course, and we're very happy for him as well. But I wonder if there's 1 or 2 viewers who might be very disappointed that Matt is now off the market.
Well, yeah, good point, actually.
Probably not, but maybe. We should start Tech of the Week with a couple of exciting products which have landed at GCN offices over the past few days. Firstly, this from Quark, who are one of our Power Meter partners. These are their D0s, which we'll be fitting to our bikes in the next few days. I'm looking forward to trying that, and I'd like to thank you for sending me them with compact chain rings.
Yeah, you know, Dan,
of you.
very well indeed. Then we also have these, the new Mavic Comet shoes. So these are the ones with the carbon frame and then a removable, should you wish, inner bootie. So pretty unique construction there. And best of all, with this particular pair of shoes, we're going to be unboxing them on Sunday, and you know what that means.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. Also, as you might expect, Paris-Roubaix saw its fair share of new and quite quirky tech. Specialized supplied their riders with a racy edition of their Roubaix model, so that includes world champion Peter Sagan, all his Bora Hansgrohe teammates, and also the riders from Quick Step Floors as well. Bonin, though, continued on his white theme that he seems to have been running throughout the Cobbled Classic season. And we understand that Specialized are going to be making a small run of these bikes, which they are going to sell to the general public, a little bit like Trek did with their Damani RSL, which we mentioned a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Now, I thought it was particularly interesting that a couple of teams were running full aero bikes at Paris-Roubaix, which is definitely a sign of the times. Orica Scott, perhaps unsurprisingly, given that Matt Hayman won last year aboard his aerodynamic Scott foil, but also the Katusha riders were aboard their Canyon Air Roads. Now, interesting, I think you may think, in that riders are clearly realising the value of aerodynamic equipment, even for a race like Paris-Roubaix. And then secondly, the fact that aero bikes now have tire clearance big enough to fit the fat 28s and even 30s that you need for Paris-Roubaix.
Competition time now, and before we announce one lucky winner of the Zipp competition, let's remind you that there is an Orbea Terra up for grabs on GCN this week. You probably will have seen the unboxing that Si did at the weekend, and this time next week we're also going to be announcing, along with the winner of that bike, the winner of the Trek bike as well. So two very lucky winners of complete bikes this time next week.
That's awesome, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, as Dan mentioned, we have also already drawn the winner for the Zipp Vuka Aerobars. And it is Brian Borreo from the US. Congratulations to you, Brian. You will be going significantly faster very soon indeed.
The Cobbled Classic season drew to its traditional dramatic close on Sunday at Paris-Roubaix. We've already gone through the winners and the losers through a game of snakes and ladders at the particular race, but rest assured it was also fast and furious from the off. In fact, they covered over 100 kilometres in the first 2 hours, partly helped by a tailwind, but also some very aggressive racing. And actually, Greg Van Avermaet's win was the fastest in history. They averaged 45.2 kilometres per hour. Incredible.
That is actually quite incredible. And perhaps for that reason, the early breakaway that normally shapes pretty much any race didn't really happen, did it? There was no sizable group with any advantage until the race hit the early cobbles. Crashes took out some big names early on, among them birthday boy Luke Durbridge, and the aforementioned Oliver Nason and also Nicky Terpstra as well.
Yeah, we reckon though that ride of the day has to go to Daniel Oss of BMC. He found himself off the front of the lead group, not just once, but on 2 occasions.
Do you know what,
surely
he's got quite a lot of Oss power.
Anyway, he was surely instrumental in teammate Greg Van Avermaet's ultimate victory. Now, eventually, 3 riders did manage to prize themselves clear of the rest, they being Greg Van Avermaet and also Zdenek Stybar, who had huge expectations for this race, and the dark horse from Cannondale Drapac, that is Sebastian Langeveld. Now, through a game of cat and mouse, they were just caught in the velodrome by Jasper Stuyven and Gianni Moscon, but they all finished in that order in the end.
They did. Cat and mouse that game, not snakes and ladders in the velodrome.
Yeah.
They changed it. Now, we've got to give a little shout out to the winner of the Junior Paris-Roubaix that takes place earlier in the day. Tom Pidcock, winner of the World Junior Cyclocross Championships earlier in the year, and now winner of Junior Paris-Roubaix, which is pretty nice. He soloed off the front and won alone in the closing stages.
Yeah, that lad's got some talent, make no mistake. He's quietly amassing a palmarès similar to Peter Sagan's in some way, but as a young rider. But could he be even better than Sagan? Not just talking about results, but maybe he's gone one better already in the wheelie state, because he can't just wheelie or do one-handed wheelies. He can do no-handed wheelies. Look at this.
Whoa. That's some crazy skills.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Crikey, yeah, that's a man to watch. No wonder World Tour teams are already tapping him up. We've also got to say it was the Under-23 Tour of Flanders, and congratulations to Eddie Dunbar. He's Ireland's first winner in that race, and again, another rider to watch in the future.
The women's peloton, in the absence of any kind of Paris-Roubaix, which I think in 2017 is a huge disappointment for us all, still had some very exciting racing in the Healthy Aging Tour, which is a sponsor I'm sure is getting a lot of interest at the moment. I certainly looked it up when I saw it.
I'm glad to hear actually. Yeah.
What do you mean?
Just that it got a lot of interest, nothing else.
Anyway, the winner of the 5-stage race was Ellen van Dijk from Team Sunweb. Great to see that after she's done so much fantastic work for her teammate Corin Rivera over the past few weeks. She beat Anna van der Breggen of the Bulls Dullman squad into second place, and then third overall was Lisa Brennauer of the Canyon SRAM squad.
Yeah. It's not all about the roads of Northern Europe at the moment, though. Not in any way, shape or form, because the Tour of the Basque Country, the Vuelta al País Vasco, has been going on this last week, and it was won by a clearly in-form Alejandro Valverde. He took the overall lead on stage 4, which is effectively the Queen stage, and then backed it up with a very impressive second place on the day's final time trial, behind another man who's clearly in form, Primož Roglic, who took the time trial, and that was his second win of the week. Roglic definitely the best ski jumper turned bike racer
that you will ever see, probably.
Yeah. And significantly better than Bradley Wiggins, who was bike racer turned ski jumper. He's far more successful at that.
Yeah.
It's all right, mate. Just getting ready.
Getting all fidgety with excitement. It is time for hack/bodge of the week. And we are going to start with this one, which came in from Nick Sciacca.
First bodge of the week.
Sciacca. Anyway, there's a lot going on in this photo of this bike. He's obviously very protective of the bike because it's locked up extremely well, including the helmet as well. And that top tube with the extra saddle on looks to me like a bodge.
Yeah. Although, mate, if you look closely, that's a Physique Arione saddle on there and also a Chris King headset. So at first glance, that looks like a well-used pub bike, but actually that's a pride and joy right there. Maybe that's a hack.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, a bit of both maybe. Maybe our first ever hack and bodge all in one picture. Next up, we've got this from Captain Kill on Twitter. A nice little home that goes with you, seen in Canada.
Yeah. Check it out.
It
that
looks quite
is
small
cool.
though in comparison. I'm not sure I could lie down in that. You think it's long enough?
No, but that's bike packing in style, isn't it? Imagine that. Or it's like a tandem for a couple with mismatched fitness. So one person can have a snooze whilst the other person rides. There you go. That's properly cool, that. Right, this one from James Dack. He has sent in, I don't even know what's going on here. There's an awful lot of stuff. There's some bungees and some old cleats,
he obviously wants to run a saddlebag and a couple of rear bottle cages at exactly the same time, so he's come up with this solution.
James, that's a bodge.
Quite hard to access your saddlebag by the looks of things.
I'm sorry, any time bungees are involved, I think that means it's an automatic bodge, don't you think? It's just the world's ultimate bodge mechanism.
Sorry, bodge.
Sorry, James.
Next up from Andy Lawton, I think we can say this is a bodge immediately. He spotted this, which is a massive saddle, I have to say, with some Velcro on top. Not the sandpaper that you see Tony Martin use on his racing saddle, but nonetheless.
Why would you want to Velcro yourself to your saddle?
I don't know, because it must be hard to slip off that saddle, even as it was.
Yeah. I tell you what, that would ruin your Lycra as well, wouldn't it, sitting on Velcro?
Yeah.
That would make short work of any cycling shorts. This next one is sent in by regular commenter, Swedish FIFA, who said, GCN Bodge of the Week, possibly, nice way to watch Paris-Roubaix in the minibus. Ingenious use of electrical tape there, we can definitely say that. Possibly Bodge of the Week. You know, everyone needs to watch Paris-Roubaix. Perhaps your hands were tired.
Did what you needed to do.
Yeah.
And you're not holding it with your hands, so all good by us. Jojo Dagenhart. Frame was a bit too big, but why is everybody now telling me that I screwed up my saddle?
Oh, good pun.
Yeah.
That is terrifying. I can't imagine those bolts have much structural strength to them.
Well, maybe let us know if it's still going strong in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. Why don't you just turn the seat post around the other way?
True, yeah.
There you go. Anyway.
Not just a pretty face.
Yeah.
Not even a pretty face.
Yeah,
Dane Anderson works at a bike shop and someone brought this bike in for a bit of a tune-up.
Well, it definitely needs a tune-up. To be fair.
That's definitely a bodge, isn't it?
Well, it is a bodge, but also that is a really good get yourself home technique if your front gear cable ever breaks. Remember that, you can stick a nice bit of stick in between, stick, and there you go, you can get yourself home.
If my front brake cable breaks, I'm quite happy these days just on the litter ring, to be honest, get me home. Oh, don't forget, by the way, that if you want to send us in your hacks or bodges, you can do so with the hashtag GCNHack on Twitter or Instagram.
Yeah, keep them coming. We love hack or bodge. Caption of the week. Your chance, remember, to win a much coveted GCN Camelback water bottle. Firstly, the results of last week. We gave you this photograph of Philippe Gilbert and Nicky Terpstra on the podium at the Tour of Flanders, and the best caption, the very best out of all 1,000 captions, was this from Alan Clark. Terpstra comforts Philippe Gilbert after Van Avermaet was awarded the GCN Wattage Bazooka.
Yeah, that was controversial.
It was
There were
controversial.
A few comments about that, sorry.
What have upset Gilbert fans?
No. Anyway, well done to you. Get in touch on Facebook and we'll send you this water bottle in the post. This week's photo is this one of Zdeněk Stybar hitting the deck at the Paris-Roubaix training, not even at the race. I shall get you started. Wow, this is nowhere near as comfortable as Quick-Step flooring.
You serious, mate?
That's the best I could come up with.
You're not feeling very well today.
No, I just didn't have much time to put into it. Anyway, if you can do better than that, leave your caption in the comment section just down below and you could win one of these.
You're definitely going to beat one person, that's for sure.
All right.
You ready, Dan?
I am.
Brace yourself, because it's time for Wattage Bazooka! This week, we are presenting our first ever Lifetime Wattage Bazooka Award. I'm sure you can guess who it is.
Yeah. Who could be more deserving of a Lifetime Wattage Bazooka than a man who's been dishing them out throughout his very long career, Mr. Tom Bowden. Very well deserved. He's won the green jersey in the past, he's been world champion, he's won the Tour of Flanders 3 times, Paris-Roubaix 4 times, and loads of other races along the way as well. So very well done to you. I think this is going to leave a big hole for many cycling fans moving forward from now, especially if this reception outside the Quick-Step bus at Paris-Roubaix was anything to go by.
Now, how do you follow a Lifetime Wattage Bazooka Award? That is a tough one, but no one's more deserving than Katie Kookaburra this week. She lopped nearly an hour off the Queen of the Mountains for Mount Tejo in Tenerife. The one that she did was nearly 40 kilometres of relentless climbing. And what makes it even more impressive, according to Jason Hearn, who was the man that nominated her for Wattage Bazooka, was that just 2 days before she had attempted the same feat, and then, in her own words, had suffered the most epic meltdown ever. So congratulations to you, Katie, a very, very well-deserved Wattage Bazooka, as well as a Queen of the Mountains.
Yeah, don't forget to keep sending your nominations in with the hashtag, which Simon is pointing out to you now. We will find that on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, you can nominate yourself or nominate a friend.
Or foe. Well, they wouldn't nominate
No,
a foe,
they
would they?
don't nominate a foe. Crikey, yeah, they're a foe. Keep them off, GCN. Comment of the week now. As ever, you have all been leaving some fantastic comments under our videos. Some of the best are as follows. First up, this one from Chris Owens on our GCN Paris-Roubaix preview show. He said, for the sake of transparency, GCN should probably drop the pretense of predictions and call it for what it is, the kiss of death.
Perhaps that's quite a good idea.
He's not far wrong, actually. Yeah. Next time, GCN kiss of death. It feels just awful, though, to say that, even if it is true.
Meanwhile, underneath Elia Viviani's Pinarello F10 bike, Gordon McKenzie wrote, a couple of mineral waters last night, Dan. Voice sounds rough, and behind those shades are no doubt eyes which look like a burst sausage. I had a quick look at the video. I don't think my voice sounds that much different. I mean, I'm not going to deny I might have had a couple of mineral waters the night before, but...
To be fair, the video that you filmed the day after Matt's wedding, now that's going to be a corker.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we didn't film anything that day, for obvious reasons. Under the Best Bike for the Cobbles video, Rafael Ricardo Paz Alpuche said this. I found also surprising the fact that Matt even has trouble clipping in his first foot as well as the second.
But I've made my choice.
In your own time.
Got my feet in and I'm off. See you later.
It's not a bad shout there, Rafa.
I don't find it surprising. It's funny, though.
It is funny and time consuming.
I'm in.
quick heads up now as to what's coming out on the channel this week, starting with Wednesday, where we've got a double header for you. Firstly, gear changing made easy, and secondly, another indoor training workout for you to ride along to. And then on Thursday, we've got our top 10 steepest climb, which really is one to watch. And then Friday, as ever, it's Ask GC Anything with yours truly this week.
You also took a very close look at Sonny Colbrelli's Merida Reacto. That is Saturday's pro bike. But then we also asked the pros, what was their first ever bike?
That'd be good. What was yours?
Well, I had hand-me-downs actually until I was 8, but my first ever proper bike was an Imel Cougar.
Ooh.
Yeah, for my 8th birthday.
My first proper bike was a Rally Burner.
Oh, that's
BMX
quite
bike.
cool.
And then I had a Rally Racer as my first road bike. Bit of a rally, and I was sponsored by Rally ultimately as a mountain bike.
My word, living your dream.
Yeah.
Right, Sunday we are, as we've already mentioned, unboxing these, the Mavic Comet shoes.
Look already unboxed to me.
Reboxing and then unboxing. No, we filmed it already. And then we also have a close look at the new Shimano Power Meter. Yeah, not much info out there already, so make sure you check that video out. Then Monday, we're back in the GCN maintenance set with a video about disc brakes, setup tips and hacks.
Oh, and then on Tuesday, we are back here.
Live from the Intergalactic Team Time Trial in Stuttgart, Germany.
Welcome to the GCN Show.
Ready for Extreme Corner, mate?
I am.
Extreme Corner, back after a couple of weeks on holiday. We've got Fabio Wibmer's Urban Freeride. Hold on to your hats. Whoa!
Wow.
He's got some skills, hasn't he?
Yeah, glad Extreme Corner's back.
Yeah, and very good at skidding too.
Nice. Right, well that brings this week's GCN show to a close. So we would like to welcome you to subscribe to the Global Cycling Network if you haven't done so already, as we close in on 1 million subscribers.
Oh,
It's been
yeah.
an unbelievable day. So if you've done so already, please tell your mates about it too, so we can go cross that amazing finish line.
Yeah.
Once you've done that, we've got a couple of videos which you might want to watch now. First one being Si at the Bristol Bespoke Hand-Built Bicycle Show, so he can show you his hand-built bike once again. That's just down here.
Yes. Never enough opportunities to see that. Or for a quite surprising video where we look to see what was the fastest type of bike for Paris-Roubaix cobbles. That one is just down there.